We can strive to be great. Maybe we won't be perfect, but our greatness will be highlighted by how much we've overcome our challenges, denying our fear to be courageous, fatigue to be energetic, sadness to be happy, and poverty to be rich. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Coming up on the pages, improving Jamaica's competitiveness in the global economy through valuable partnerships. Plus, we'll have entertaining traditional folk form pieces from this year's entrance in the JCDC Festival of the Performing Arts. Stay tuned for all those and more right after these messages.
When you're on the road, take your time. When you're on the road, bear this in mind. When you're on the road, you could save a life when you're on the road.
Jamaica is benefiting from the capacity building work being done under the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. It's helping to achieve improved competitiveness in the global economy, meeting global standards in products and services, efficiency and quality. Let's find out more.
Over the past few years, the European Union, the EU, has been a key partner in promoting Jamaica's development agenda by facilitating increased export competitiveness and food safety and security. The Economic Partnership Agreement (EPA) capacity building project is one of the tools being used by the European Union, EU, and Government of Jamaica to improve and build infrastructure that supports our export industry. The EU-funded project, which is being implemented by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, seeks to improve our nation's productivity and output in agriculture, resulting in economic growth.
The EPA agreement, Economic Partnership Agreement, was signed in 2008. All the members of CARIFORUM and as well as the 28 member states of the European Union. It's a trade, but it's also a development agreement. It also foresaw the idea of getting support from the European Union to the different CARIFORUM countries to export and have access to the European market. The type of activities that we have been implementing here basically was to upgrade laboratories to be able to test the products to comply to European standards, so therefore raising the standard. That includes not only providing the equipment but also the training.
Result number one of the project: increased capacity for product testing and certification for compliance with international standards has been achieved. This means that a number of public sector food testing laboratories have undergone the accreditation process and are now ISO 17025 accredited.
To be ISO 17025 accredited means that tests of Jamaican foods being exported to other countries by ISO 17025 laboratories will be readily accepted at ports of entries worldwide and will not be subject to delays that can adversely affect the quality of the produce.
The laboratories that have benefited from the accreditation process include the Microbiology and Chemistry Laboratories at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, the BSJ, Microbiology, Residue Testing and Parasitological Laboratories at the Veterinary Services Division of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, MICAF, Pesticide Research Laboratory of the Chemistry Department at the University of the West Indies, MONA, Plant Pathology Laboratory of the Plant Protection Unit, MICAF, and the Plant Virology Laboratory at the Plant Protection Unit at the Ministry.
We received a lot of renovations. So our lab was actually split, walls done, cupboards, tiles, everything was done to meet more international standards. Then at the front of our building, we had 2 new rooms being made. One for a submission room where we would meet our clients before they'd come straight into the building. And as a quarantine building, that was actually a big no-no.
During 2014, we received 7 pieces of equipment valued at over 30 million Jamaican dollars. These were used to strengthen our quality system and help assist us towards having the labs accredited.
The Pesticide Research Laboratory has received assistance in the form of refurbishment of the laboratory, training of the laboratory staff, as well as analytical equipment and related supplies.
One of the basic piece of equipment we got was a LCMS, valued at about 350,000 euros. We have also had an incinerator, we've had water softener, we've had an oven dryer, and we also had several training opportunities for staff abroad.
The plant quarantine, plant produce inspection branch at MICAF has also benefited from the EPA project.
EPA is pivotal in our safeguarding effort because there are times when we intercept things that are imported that have pests on them. These must be destroyed. And so the incinerator that we are getting through the EPA is going to play that very special role.
The long-term impact is pretty much one that will now allow us to conduct the relevant tests in compliance with the markets that we're trying to access, so that our farmers, our processors, our producers can export their products and have them tested at the level where we are satisfied that we can compete with any developed country in the world.
They have allowed us to make the test methods complete in a shorter time. They have allowed us to automate test methods, and they have allowed us to meet turnaround times in a more satisfactory manner for our clients.
But that's not all. Another important result of the project is increased awareness of international standards and technical requirements in the public sector.
Exposure of public officers to advanced training in food safety and other related standards, training for specific assessments on animal and plant health issues can only strengthen Jamaica's institutional framework and facilitate increased exports by private sector stakeholders.
And the EPA team continues to work on the sensitization of and dialogue with the private sector on technical barriers to trade, TBT, and sanitary and phytosanitary issues, SPS.
The private sector is directly involved in the production and export of food and agro-processed products and deals directly with the different trade issues. Food exporters must meet the TBS and SPS requirements of the countries importing their goods.
So it's clear that the EPA capacity building project has already started to significantly transform the Jamaican business sector, resulting in sustainable and economic development. And the EPA2 project further enhances this transformation. The EPA2 financing agreement was signed in November 2014 and is being implemented on a phased basis. A part of this agreement focuses on providing assistance to coffee and spices industries, two sectors with the potential for increasing exports from Jamaica to the European Union.
EPA 1 project focused only on institutional aspects and trying to bring the laboratories to ISO standards. And the second one built on this, and then is when we have introduced the specific support to the two industries. The particularity, in order to do that, we have got an agreement with the International Financial Corporation, which is part of the World Bank Group, which specializes in support to the private sector, and they are responsible for the implementation of this component of the program.
The Economic Partnership Agreement Capacity Building Project will continue to contribute to Jamaica's national export strategy, supporting Vision 2030 Jamaica National Development Plan to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
name is Jamal Hall and I'm here at Monroe College at our First Form Science Energy Day Extravaganza. We are trying to inculcate the use of various alternative energy sources among the First Form group. Some of them are as displays where you have the wind-powered, solar-powered. This is Sandre, he has his piece right here. Sandre, tell me about your piece.
This is a solar pressure cooker. It heats up. When the light shines onto the fire paper, it heats up inside of the box, and because the glass is here, it traps the heat, and it heats up the water bottle. So I would like to feel it now.
Yes, please. Oh, it's hot. Thank you. All right, let's move over to a wind-powered house done by Sinilla Form 1X. Good day, Sinil.
This is a wind-powered turbine. The wind powers the bicycle generator. Then it moves down to this wire and it powers the light bulb.
What made you choose a wind-powered house?
I felt it was good because of how Monroe was breezy.
Okay.
And it took me a day to build it.
What have you learned about renewable energy from the project?
That it saves work energy.
Saves energy.
And it prevents global warming.
One of the big thrusts we have here is to ensure that we stimulate an interest in the sciences from very early. So once the kids come in first form, it's a way of stimulating that natural intellectual curiosity and interest in the sciences, particularly alternative energy that the school is very passionate about. And it all ties into this whole thrust towards what we call STEM education, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it really is a part of a broader thrust by the school to ensure that this is deeply engendered in the boys and there's this real interest and drive and passion that they have. Hopefully they'll go on to become scientists themselves.
We'll now be moving over to a solar-powered car. Let's see how that works.
We use a plastic bottle, 4 tires from an old toy car, and a rechargeable battery with a 3-volt solar panel and a 1.5 voltage motor inside the car. With the solar panel takes power from the sun, send it to the battery, and the battery powers the motor.
What exactly did you learn from doing this project?
Renewable energy is more efficient than fossil fuels.
We are here with Lawton Lewis and his solar-powered car. Now, Lawton, tell us something about this vehicle.
Okay, this vehicle runs off of solar power, right? All of these solar panels equal to 20 volts, right? 2 motor power the front wheels and 1 motor power the back wheel. Reason being because the front is heavier than the back.
Okay.
Right? The whole frame of this vehicle is made out of plywood.
Up next is a homemade solar water heater, and the person responsible for this is my friend here, Vernon. Vernon, tell me exactly how does this work?
We use irrigation pipes to hold the water. We have used the sun's rays to generate the heat of the solar water heater, which heats the water. These green plastic things, they are couplers, which are used to connect into these columns.
Co-curriculum programs such as this is deeply rooted in the concept of project-based learning. And so we're stepping away from the chalk and talk and now towards a system in which students are actively engaged in the process of learning.
I believe that students learn not only from theoretical knowledge but through practical application. And I thought it fitting as a teacher who experiments a lot in the classroom to not only teach the concept energy but also to allow students to exercise some practical work, and from that they will better understand the concept. So in some sense, practical application concretize theoretical knowledge. This assignment was also weighted towards their end of year exam, so it has a 20% weighting. This I think is very interesting for first formers, so it's like an SBA component of their final exam.
Now it's time to check out my masterpiece. Let's go. Okay, this is a solar powered company. Now, everyone made houses, but I decided to make a company that could be later on used, meaning that it could develop to something bigger. Here, I have my solar panels, and if the sun shines, heats up these two panels, and then the light inside the house turns on. The benefits of solar is basically it is healthier, it's cheaper.
They are more cleaner and release less pollutants in the atmosphere than other energy forms.
I found out that green energy is the best energy and that solar panel isn't there and it's better than using the normal electricity.
This whole day is basically about the use of renewable energy, and we are just so glad that you could be able to stop by and see what we have to share, and now we can spread to the whole world what you can achieve using renewable energy sources.
And now for some entertainment. Up next, pieces from this year's JCDC Festival of the Performing Arts 2016 entrance. Let's rediscover this aspect of our rich heritage.
Good on a money mill road, gal and boy, fi go broke Rockstone. Good on a money mill road, gal and boy, fi go broke Rockstone. Come on, broke them one by one, broke them two by two.
Finger mash no cry, member player we a player. Welcome to this week's JCDC Festival Corner. In the corner this week, we give you highlights from the national finals for the traditional folk forms competition. Think maypole, quadrille, and ring games, for example. We kick things off with a performance from the Burnt Savannah Primary School.
I Billy Goto. I beg you lend me your razor. I beg you lend me your shaver. I make me trim up my beard. I make me shave up my beard. I make me trim up my wristband. I make me shave up my neck back. I make me trim up my eyebrow. I look at she Goto. Sister she Goto.
All those performances show the fine quality on display at the JCDC's national finals for the traditional folk forms competition. But who were the overall winners? Catch some of them in action.
land of peace and love. Some say they cannot see no hopes, that's why they keep it slow. I know there's hope somewhere, that's why I wrote this song. So let me tell you all who believe in love. I say go sing this song with me. All who believe in love. I say go sing this song with me. Now let's sing it la 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 la. I mean I know, I know, I know, I know, la 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 la. My children all are gone.
And Trelawney, the home of Tambo in Jamaica, did not disappoint. Tambo is a drum, music genre and dance form. Students from a popular high school in Trelawney came out as the winners in that category. Well, if you never know nothing about Tambo, now you know. Those were just some of the major winners in the JCDC's national finals for the traditional folk forms competition. But before we go, let's throw to this week's crowd favorite. You liked it? So did I. And there's more to come. Tune in next weekend for more exciting performances and be sure to support the various festival initiatives. The Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, unearthing, developing, showcasing and preserving the best of Jamaica's culture.
Good on a Manny Mill Road, gal and boy, fi go broke Rockstone. Good on a Manny Mill Road, gal and boy, fi go broke Rockstone. Come on, broke them one by one, broke them two by two.
Up next, top stories making news this week.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. The Prime Ministers of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago have signed a joint communique agreeing to, among other things, prioritize a bilateral framework agreement as they work toward enhanced dialogue and cooperation. The document was signed on July 21 at the end of Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's 4-day official visit to Jamaica.
Our discussions were frank and open and conducted in an atmosphere of growing friendship and mutual respect.
The discussions resulted in agreements to increase investment flows between the two countries, address immigration challenges, and explore strengthened cooperation in the areas of energy, security, tourism, air and sea transportation, and technical and cultural exchanges.
And all that's left for me to do is to formally and publicly, on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the government which I head, to extend an invitation to the Prime Minister of Jamaica and his delegation to join us in Trinidad and Tobago at the earliest opportunity so we can continue this dialogue.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness and members of his economic team also welcomed a delegation from the International Monetary Fund to Jamaica this week as government explores Jamaica's possible re-engagement with the IMF at the end of the current agreement.
We believe that it is good, it is tidy, it is transparent, that we should continue to have a relationship, a monitoring relationship with the IMF, and we think that it is good all around for Jamaica's program.
At the end of the discussion, Prime Minister Holness says the parties agreed that the government's focus on growth and job creation, poverty reduction and national security should be reflected in and central to any future program with the IMF. It was also agreed that macroeconomic discipline must be maintained. In a statement to Parliament on Tuesday, Finance Minister Audley Shaw reported that his recent non-deal investor roadshow in the United States and Europe went very well. The minister and his team met with 57 fund managers and investment bankers in 3 United States cities as well as the European cities of London, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Vienna and Zurich.
The Jamaica delegation was well received at all meetings, and investors seemed assured of economic stability and were impressed by the initiatives and institutional support being created to ensure robust, sustainable economic growth.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett announced this week that his ministry would be contributing $1 billion over the next 4 years to fund security initiatives in resort areas.
We have already identified some of the areas that we are going to be working with you on. And I know you have identified some areas that you want to put on the front burner. Over the next few weeks, Minister, we will fine-tune the arrangements insofar as the allocations for the specific items are concerned.
The Ministers of Tourism and National Security were addressing the graduation of 89 district constables who received training to protect tourists and Jamaicans in prescribed areas and resort towns. The Trelawney Parish Council has received $29 million from the Equalization Fund to undertake infrastructural work throughout the parish.
I will support any initiative from any parish council that seeks assistance from the Equalization Fund, where those funds can be used to help you to generate additional income for the benefit of the council.
The capacity of the virology lab at the University of the West Indies is being increased to facilitate more Zika testing. That's just one of several measures announced in Parliament this week by Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton to fight the spread of Zika and limit its impact on the population, particularly pregnant women and their babies. Other measures include the introduction of ELISA testing, which will allow the authorities to differentiate between whether a pregnant woman has or has ever had Zika.
This will eliminate the 3 to 5 day window, allowing us more flexibility to diagnose Zika infection.
The ministry will also continue distributing mosquito nets to pregnant women, provide them with counseling, purchase additional ventilators and repair existing ones as they improve intensive care units and high dependency areas at hospitals, and equip hospitals with a register which will capture the head circumference of babies to detect and diagnose microcephaly cases. A Phase 3 group of experts is being set up to specifically address complications of Zika infection, including microcephaly, Guillain-Barré syndrome, or other neurological complications. And Jamaica has accepted an invitation to participate in clinical trials being fast-tracked by the National Institute of Health for the development of a Zika vaccine. And finally, Sport Minister Olivia Grange says all necessary measures have been put in place to ensure the health of Jamaica's Olympians who will be heading to Rio, Brazil this summer. And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
And this is where we take our leave on yet another enlightening edition of Jamaica Magazine. We value your feedback, so keep the link. Tell us what you thought of the show. Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You can also visit our website, jis.gov.jm, or our social media platforms. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson, reminding you to take care on our roads. And by all means, be at peace with each other. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.